Ready to go now with the Sunday Roundtable. Joining us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Andrew Goodrich. Guys, thanks for being here. You heard Mayor Wu this morning. Let's get your assessment of the race in Boston. It's a re-election year with Tom O'Brien opting out at kind of the last minute. How do you see this race playing out between Michelle Wu and Josh Kraft? Is she vulnerable, Marianne?
This is Michelle Wu's race to lose, and it's hard to see her losing it at this point. With 212 days to go to the general election, it is Kraft versus Wu, but she is on a roll. Whether it was a performance down in Washington, the White Stadium win, she's earned her own luck. She's tackling all the issues, and she's making clear what she wants to do, what she's done in the last 4 years, and what she's going to do in the next 4. So things can happen. Kraft has certainly picked up 2 union endorsements she had, but it's hard to see her losing this race.
So Marianne says it's a lock, but 7 months is a long time, Andrew.
It is a long time, but the mayor just oozes with authenticity. And could we just take a second to realize that she's a new mother? She is the mayor and she's running an election. It's unbelievable for what she's doing. And I kind of feel like Kraft has almost made an Irish exit. Where has he really been? He really needs to get out there a bit more. The window isn't closed, but it's closing.
The world economy is shaken right now by President Trump's tariffs. Markets plunging after tariffs as high as 50% were put in place. Retaliations ramping up, prices on just about everything expected to rise. The president focused on economic discontent to get back to the White House. Will his supporters ride this out with him? What do you think?
I think those who live in a city or town with an empty factory, who put on their blue jeans, and they realize that it's from Bangladesh where it's actually made. I think those are going to be a lot more patient. I think we have to take a breath. I think there's been a lot of overreaction. These tariffs are not in effect until next week at some point. And so is this really a big negotiation tactic? I think it might be. And the irony of all ironies is that Trump is taking a playbook out of Dick Gephardt and John Kucinich and even Bernie Sanders for their support of tariffs. So why the left is overreacting, I don't know.
Do you think it's an overreaction, Marianne?
I think it's the Republicans who are overreacting. You're starting to see the cracks already, whether it's Wisconsin, Florida, Pennsylvania. You see losses or near losses by Republicans there. You look at the policies he's doing, the market crashing. None of it related to anything Donald Trump said he was going to do when he ran for office. And that's the difference here. So unless you're even in the reddest states, these town hall meetings are taking Republicans out. So I see the cracks already, and that was before the market tanked.
What do you think about Wisconsin? I mean, Elon Musk spent millions there, and Democrats won by several points.
Yeah, I think it was certainly a mistake to send a South African billionaire who's a bit odd to try to represent Midwestern values. So I think that was just a total blunder.
All right, last week, Cory Booker delivered a record-breaking speech on the Senate floor, 25 hours, blasting Trump administration policies. Could this have been a turning point for Democrats, or was this just political theater? We haven't seen much follow since that speech, Marianne.
Well, I think you're finally seeing Democrats get on their feet. The American people have been leading the opposition to Trump, and rightfully so, but they want the people they elected to lead that opposition. So Cory Booker, in his West Wing-worthy moment, he asked us all to stand up, be better, and do better, but it's really now on Congress and every elected official in this country to stand up and take on Trump and take him out.
Why aren't any of the big Democratic super PACs on television?
That is
hammering the president on the economy. I mean, eggs are still $7, $8, $9 a dozen.
I agree with you 100%. And everyone in the 202 area code seems to think there's time. There is no time left. None. We need to save our democracy. We have weeks, maybe 2 months left to do it.
Andrew?
Well, listen, Cory Booker, if anything, is just all about self-promotion. And really, he's just stalling, not actually leading or doing anything. And Senate Democrats think that this is a good idea. No wonder people look to Washington and say, "What are they doing?" But absolutely, no one in the street is actually talking about what did he actually say.
That's not true. People, I mean, what, 250 million people alone saw it on TikTok? Come on.
But quickly, though, 4 Republicans joined with Democrats to support a bill that would take this tariff power away from the president. Are there cracks showing in that Republican caucus?
Not until there's a big tax package.
Let me just raise the thing. I talked last week about the fact in the Constitution, only Congress can do tariffs, and the president can only do it with their permission. And they are finally trying to get their power back.
All right. Congressman Chris Pappas of New Hampshire is now running for U.S. Senate. His announcement coming just weeks after Jeanne Shaheen announced she would not seek another term. Do you see any other Granite State Democrats jumping in, Marianne?
Maggie Goodlander is the name that is out there, has been since Jeanne Shaheen announced that she was not going to run for re-election. Pappas is in and all in. The question is, does Maggie Goodlander get in, even though she just got elected in November to Congress? But if that happens, that will be a brawl, and whoever comes out of that, that could make the general election a little more challenging.
Okay, that's the Democratic side. What about the Republican side?
Yeah, I mean, this to me, I always think that it's Sununu's. It's his to lose, to be honest. I mean, I know Scott Brown.
He's talking about it.
Sure. I mean, he could try to. It's an uphill battle to go up against Sununu, and I think Sununu's going to blow anyone else out of the water.
All right, back with the roundtable right after this.